Hi everyone, welcome to Jack's Top 10. In this video, we are going to talk about top 10 most disturbing human experiments. So before starting this video, please like this video and subscribe to this channel for our future updates. The normal person does not give much thought to disturbing human trials. Rather, the progress made in the last 150 years of human history is something we are reminded of on a nearly daily basis. We no longer need to be concerned about things like dangerous infections or masturbation as a form of insanity thanks to advances in domains like biomedicine and psychology. We have created more effective ways to acquire information, treat skin disorders, and even murder each other, for better or worse. However, we are rarely reminded of the human lives that have been harmed or lost in the name of development. The 10 most unsettling human experiments in history are listed here. The 10th. Syphilis experiments in Guatemala. The U.S. government, Guatemalan President 𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐤, and various Guatemalan health ministries collaborated on a horrific human experiment on naive Guatemalan residents from 1946 to 1948. In order to track the untreated natural progression of syphilis and other sexually transmitted diseases, doctors infected soldiers, prostitutes, prisoners, and mental patients with syphilis and other sexually transmitted diseases. The trial, which was treated solely with antibiotics, resulted in at least 30 verified deaths. The United States issued an official apology to Guatemala in 2010 for their role in the tests. Number 9. Tuskegee Syphilis Study. The U.S. Public Health Service and the Tuskegee Institute began working together in 1932 to study the natural development of untreated syphilis. In Macon County, Alabama, 600 poor, uneducated male sharecroppers were found and hired. Only 399 of the 600 men had previously contracted syphilis, and none had been informed that it was a life-threatening condition. Instead, they were promised that in exchange for their participation, they would receive free health care, meals, and funeral insurance. The study continued until 1972. Even after penicillin was demonstrated to be an effective therapy for syphilis in 1947. The study's victims included wives who contracted the disease and children born with congenital syphilis, in addition to the original individuals. President Bill Clinton issued a public apology to people who were affected by the most infamous biomedical experiment in U.S. history in 1997. Number 8. Milgram Experiment. Stanley Milgram, a Yale University psychologist, conducted a series of social psychology experiments in 1961 that examined test respondents' propensity to obey an authoritative figure. Milgram's experiment, which took place barely 3 months after the start of the trial of German Nazi war criminal Adolf Eichmann, tried to address the question, could it be that Eichmann and his million Holocaust accomplices were only obeying orders? 2 participants, one a covert actor and the other an innocent test subject, were split into 2 rooms where they could hear but not see each other in the experiment. After then, the test subject would read a series of questions to the actor, with each incorrect answer being punished with an electric shock. Despite the fact that several people expressed a wish to end the experiment, almost all participants stayed when they were told they would not be held responsible or that there would be no long-term consequences. Number 7. Infected mosquitoes in towns. The U.S. Army performed a series of biological warfare experiments on the communities of Savannah, Georgia, and Avon Park, Florida, in 1956 and 1957. Millions of infected mosquitoes were released into the 2 cities as part of one such experiment to investigate if the insects could spread yellow fever and dengue fever. Fevers, respiratory issues, stillbirths, encephalitis, and typhoid were among the ailments that hundreds of researchers got. Army researchers claimed to be public health personnel in order to photograph the findings of their trials. As a result of the research, some persons perished. Number 6. Twin and genetic experiments. The Holocaust's purpose was to exterminate anybody who was not of Aryan ancestry. Jews, blacks, Hispanics, gays, and others who did not match the criteria were to be wiped out, leaving only the superior Aryan race. The Nazi Party needed scientific confirmation of the Aryan supremacy, thus genetic tests were carried out. Dr. Josef Mengele, also known as the Angel of Death, was enthralled with twins. When they arrived at the Auschwitz concentration camp, he would isolate them from the other inmates. The twins had to get their blood drawn every day. This routine's exact function is unknown. Experiments on twins were carried out in great detail. They were subjected to a thorough examination and measurements of every inch of their bodies. Hereditary qualities would subsequently be determined through comparisons. Physicians occasionally performed bulk blood transfusions from one twin to the other. Because most people of Aryan ancestry had blue eyes, experiments with chemical drops or iris injections would be carried out in an attempt to create them. The surgeries were excruciatingly painful, resulting in infections and, in some cases, blindness. Without any anesthetic, injections were given and spinal taps were conducted. One twin would be infected with an illness by intentionally, while the other would not. If one died, the other was killed and inspected to see how they compared. Without anesthetic, amputations and organ removals were also performed. The majority of the twins that entered the camp died, and their autopsies formed the last experiments. Number 5. Human experimentation in North Korea. Several defectors from North Korea have revealed horrific examples of human experimentation. In one reported experiment, 50 healthy female inmates were fed poisoned cabbage leaves and died all within 20 minutes. Other experiments documented include performing surgery on inmates without anesthesia, starving, hitting prisoners over the head before using the zombie-like victims as target practice, and chambers where entire families are slaughtered with suffocating gas. Every month, a black van known as the Crow is claimed to pick up 40 to 50 people from a camp and transport them to an unknown location for tests. Number 4. Nazi human experimentation. Nazi Germany conducted a number of medical experiments on Jews, POWs, Romani, and other oppressed groups during the Third Reich and the Holocaust. The experiments were carried out in concentration camps and ended in death, disfigurement, or permanent impairment in the majority of victims. Attempts to genetically modify twins, bone, muscle, and nerve transplants, exposure to diseases and toxic gases, sterilization, and whatever else the infamous Nazi scientists could think of were among the most horrifying trials. These crimes were tried after the war as part of the Nuremberg trials, which resulted in the Nuremberg Code of Medical Ethics. Number 3. Unit 731. The Imperial Japanese Army developed Unit 731, a covert biological and chemical weapons research experiment, from 1937 to 1945. Unit 731, based in the huge city of Harbin, was responsible for some of history's most heinous war crimes. Men, women, children, newborns, the elderly, and pregnant women from China and Russia were exposed to tests that included organ removal from a live body, amputation for the study of blood loss, germ warfare attacks, and weapons testing. Some inmates' stomachs were surgically removed and their esophagus was reattached to their intestines. Many of the Unit 731 scientists went on to have successful careers in politics, academia, business, and medicine. Number 2. Radioactive materials in pregnant women. Many medical researchers were obsessed with the prospect of radioactivity and chemical warfare just after World War II, with the coming Cold War on the minds of Americans. In a Vanderbilt University study, 829 pregnant women were given vitamin drinks that they were told would help their unborn baby's health. Instead, the drinks included radioactive iron, and the researchers were interested in seeing how quickly the radioisotope entered the placenta. At least 7 of the newborns died of malignancies and leukemia later in life, and the mothers developed rashes, bruising, anemia, hair and tooth loss, and cancer. Number 1. Mustard gas tested on American military. The U.S. Navy exposed its own sailors to mustard gas in 1943. Officially, the Navy was putting new gear and gas masks to the test against the deadly gas that had been so terrible during World War I. The most heinous tests took place at Washington's Naval Research Laboratory. After 8 weeks of boot camp, 17 and 18-year-old boys were contacted and asked if they wanted to take part in an experiment that would help shorten the war. The boys didn't learn about the mustard gas experiment until they arrived at the research laboratory. The Navy ignored the participants, who virtually all suffered severe external and internal burns, and in some cases threatened them with the Espionage Act. The reports were finally declassified and presented to Congress in 1991. What do you think about our video? Which of the above shocked you? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoy this video and want to hear from me again, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications before you go. Thanks for watching.